When did you make the decision that you wanted to get into the Navy?
Oh, well, I wasn't old enough in Pearl Harbor.
Mhm.
I remember hearing that on the radio, and but I was not old enough then, and I finally talked my dad into signing my papers for me, but I didn't go until I was, let's see, I must have been 18 when I went in, and then I went to boot camp and went to diesel engine school, and then I went to Bermuda on a small ship, which was a commissioned ship, that was. And I was down there about 9 months, and they decided to decommission them because all they were using them for was like water taxi. A lot of the destroyers came from the States down there and for aerial gunnery to teach them how to shoot well, eventually a plane, but they had a sleeve they towed behind an airplane. They were shooting at that. And the Navy decided they didn't need commissioned officers on that thing, so they decommissioned the ship, and I don't even know I don't know whatever happened to that. I came back to the States in February, and then I came home on leave for a little while, and then I went to PT boat school. And actually, the proper name is motor torpedo boats, is what it is. They were probably the smallest fighting ship that the Navy had. A boat. This was a boat because they put them on. They put them on ships and took them wherever they wanted to go and across the Pacific Ocean. And they took them over there and put them in the water again. And then I was already assigned to that squadron, but then we were assigned to boat crews. Boat crews were put together, and I ended up on the boat crew, and I was on that all the rest of the time I was out there.
Now, what was your duty when you were on?
I was the engineer, and generally I was motor machinist mate, third class, and then I got made second class while I was on that thing, and then general quarters I had a twin 50 machine guns that I used fired, and everybody on there could do most anything. We could run even the guys on the deck port, they could run. It was like one of these boats on the harbor here, only it was bigger.
Did you feel that was a good thing that everybody on the ship could do pretty much everything that was needed on the boat?
That was the way they set it up that way, so you could pretty well do most anything that had to be done that needed. I guess so I've been told and read in article things that we made the longest open ocean voyage of PT boats ever made.
How long was that?
Well, we went, I don't know how many miles it was, but we went from an island on north of, it's a windy, Naval, Oendi, I think it's a Dutch name, Dutch word, from there to the Philippines, in a convoy, in a invasion convoy is what it was, and we were there. We were up there. I must have been in December because I got a ribbon for commendation ribbon for it, and that was for the invasion of Mindoro and December 15th to the 19th, and that was the same time that typhoon was going on out in the Philippine Sea, which farther was probably 100 miles east of where we were. We didn't get any of it there. And then we were the we were about smallest naval vessels that were armed or anything.
How small?
Pardon?
How small were the ships you were on?
20 foot wide and 80 feet long. They were made of plywood and mahogany. They were wooden boats. Had 3 Packard engines, 1,500 horse apiece, and we were the only Navy there. When the invasion was being done, the regular fleet, some of the fleet was there too, but they left. They had something else to do, whatever they were, and they left, and we left. We were there for 2 weeks before they got an airstrip set up, And they used kamikazes on us. I don't know, kamikaze means divine wind in the Japanese language, I guess. And that was, they were pretty well at the end of their rope on as far as the Japanese. They used those on big ships. They used them on everything. It was they was mostly were very young people that would fly them. They teach them how to fly them and get them in the air, but they never taught them how to land anything because they didn't come back. They went to their own funeral and everything in Japan or wherever they came from.
Did you ever have any close calls with those kamikazes?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was about for about 2 weeks. We had kamikaze raids quite frequently during the day. It was always daytime.
How close did they come to your ship, the one that you were on?
No, they weren't. They never got. They did too. They got close one day. One of them came for us, and we shot him down before he got there. That was the closest one for that. And we used to go at night. We traveled at night all the time, and go on patrol at night. And one night I think we were up around Luzon somewhere. I was not a navigator, so I was just there, you know. And we had a bunch of who were they? Army men, a bunch of Army guys on. They were walking wounded. I don't know what they were doing up there. I think just up there looking around, seeing what was there, I guess. And the boy man on the radar saw something coming from behind us. He was, at first he thought it was a rain cloud, because those old radar, you could pick up rain clouds on that thing.
Oh, wow.
So we picked it up, and he said there's something, and it was, then he'd been at it long enough, he realized it was not that, it was moving too fast, so Skipper just cut the engine and we drifted off, and that was I guess that was the only time we ever got shot at, really. In the water, in salt water, the turbulence from the propellers, it leaves phosphorus in the water. And at night, it's just like a white line on the road. You can see it from up in the air for miles, you know. Well, we got away from that one all right, so I don't know if there had any other. Well, it was close to for 2 weeks it was close every time we went out, you know. We lost one boat to the kamikazes, and that was all out of, it must have been, I don't know, there's supposed to have been 12 boats in the squadron, but they put 2 of them together. So it was, there was probably 15 or 18 boats that were with us. It was, well, I don't know, when you live in that long enough, you just, well, today's another day, and that's it, you know, just like getting up and going to work in the morning.
Did the days kind of blur together after a while?
Pardon?
Did the days kind of blur together after a while, and you just kind of kept going through the motions and just?
Yeah, it was in the tropics, of course. Yeah. It was warm all the time, so one day, 1 week, 1 month, it didn't make much difference.
It just kind of all
day to day, and yeah, there was people that were keeping records. Of course, the ones that did keep records. I don't know if we ever kept any records on the engines, and we just went wherever we had to go. And
where were you when you heard that the war had ended?
Oh, down Borneo. They sent us to Borneo on an invasion, and that really didn't. I don't know what. I think it must have been a bunch of Australian fellas that they put in there, and there was not much of anything to it, really, at that time. By that time, it was, things were, well, the Japanese had been beaten, but they didn't want to admit it yet for a while. So then that time we went down farther south in Borneo from where we had been, and went up a river about 20 miles to a little village up there, and they had, Japanese had a POW camp. I never did see it. I never was up there, but in the hills, up in the hills somewhere. And they brought we took some Australian guys with us, and Australian Army fellas, and they went up there and got the prisoners out of there. Put the Japanese guards, they just put them in and took the prisoners out and brought them down there. And we took them out. There was, how many boats was there? I don't know, 6 or 8 of us, maybe more than that. I guess probably more than that. It wasn't more than that. It must be 10 or 15 boats. And so we just brought them out and put them on a hospital ship. And I don't know whatever happened to them after that, but some of them were pretty bad looking. They were pretty tough looking. And there was 5 guys, I remember 5 men off the cruiser Houston that had been sunk in down in there, Malaysia someplace, at the start of the war, and they've been in that POW camp for the whole complete war. Wow. Until we got there. Until the war was over when we went after them up there. Yeah. And, so they weren't too bad. They were pretty good shape, generally. Probably better shape than most of the rest of them. There was English Army and English service people and Australians and civilians, white people, white civilians. I don't know who all was up there. We just carried them out, took them out there, and they put them on that hospital ship. And I don't know what happened then. They were gone.
What was going through your mind when you were walking into these camps and rescuing these people to put them on that hospital ship? What was going through your mind?
Well, most of them were, they were malnourished for one thing, and they had jungle, diseases and stuff like that. And I don't know, it was pretty tough to see the people in the situation they were, but they got taken care of, I'm sure, all right. Yeah, I remember one fellow that I remember the most. He was over 6 feet tall, and he said he weighed 200 pounds when he went in it. And he might have weighed 100 pounds or less. He was really bad shape. And I don't know, I really don't know what happened to him after that. They took care of him somehow, or hospital ship did. Probably the war was over and they were transferring them around back and forth and getting them where they needed to be. And it must have been quite a process to get all those people out of there and get them where they wanted to go. And we went back to our base that we had down there, and then we went back to the Philippines. And I guess we were there. No, I don't know, not too long, because I had people were getting out of service on the point system, and I had enough points to get out the day the war was over, but I didn't get out until the next February, time we got home. I got back to the States. It was we were here and there, and we decommissioned the squadron, and they took everything off the boats, but the wiring, and pushed them up on the shore and punched them up on the beach and burned them up. But we used them however we had to use them, They were not in greatest shape. And they'd been, the squadron I was in they'd been to Alaska, or the Aleutian Islands when they were new, when it was a whole new squadron. And then they came back and they put a lot more guns on the boats, and then loaded them up. I never did see the boat till I got, I forget now where they did unload them, took them off of whatever, they put them on the deck of whatever was going that way, and so they unloaded them and got them ready, operational, and we got on, and I rode on the boat ever from then until they decommissioned the squadron. But we had some good times, had some tough times, but.
Do you have a favorite memory, something that sticks out in your mind?
We used to take the boats out and what we call riding the rooster's tail. It was those boats and any boat, you see a boat going in the water fast and a plume of water behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we put one up there, it's probably 6, 7 feet high or 10. It would run right alongside of it and then run up on top of it. And we sit right up on there and look down at the boat in front of us. Somebody said, what happened if the one ahead of you had stopped? Well, I said, we probably had 2 boats for the price of one. And we didn't think nothing of it, doing things like that.
Just trying to have a little fun.
We weren't, well, none of us were probably, well, I was only 19, 20 years old.
Now, earlier you had mentioned that when the attack on Pearl Harbor occurred, your parents had to sign some papers to allow you to go into the Navy.
Yeah.
Now, were they, a little bit hesitant about you?
Oh yeah.
Going in?
Yeah. My dad was, he didn't think much of that deal. I kept talking to him, and he finally signed it, but when he signed it for me to go, I didn't go then and for, I might have been 2 or 3 months before they called me up. Then they called me and I went through boot camp and got ready to go and
Were you nervous or were you excited to?
well, I wanted to go. I know, of course you never you didn't know what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
For one thing. And in World War II, when the fellows went to those places, they didn't have a rotation system. Not like they have for the men up to Fort Drum, They go for 6 months or 9 months a year, whatever their rotation is.
When you went, you went.
Yeah, we stayed. We went out there until it was done. I was in the Navy 3 years, and might have been a year and a half. I was out of the States, down in Bermuda, and then off over to the Philippines, over to the Pacific side of it, if you don't know what's coming, you get it. I don't know whether I got excited or not. It just, we were there and that's what we were going to do, and that was it. I think some of the guys were probably, I don't know, I didn't think too much about the consequences of what might have happened or anything. But
You just wanted to serve your country.
yeah, about Borneo one time, 2, 3 of us decided was gonna go fishing. Somebody found somewhere they had a box of hand grenades, and I was telling you, you full with high explosives and have all that junk all the time, and we didn't think nothing of it. So we went off up the dock. The docks were kind of a funny shaped things anyway, but we went off up far away from the docks, and we threw 2 or 3 of them in the water. You arm them and throw them in the water, and they explode. Got everybody up. I don't know. It was at night when we did it. For some reason, I don't know why we did it then, but he got everybody up. They thought they were having an invasion. We didn't do that again. Crazy things like that. I suppose Andy, he rode in the tank all the time, and it was just what we did. That was it. People nowadays, they say, well, I just nervous and all that. We never got nervous about it. I didn't know, it didn't bother me any.
You just had a job to do,
and that was it. Yeah, I remember one time the fellows with 20 millimeter guns we had on that. We had, let's see, what did we do? Had 2 20 millimeters on the forward deck and 37 millimeter as well. And then there was 2 twin 50 turrets, big slide where the controls were. And then there was 2 more twin 50s back about in the middle of the boat on either side. And the back end of the boat we had a 40 millimeter. No, the 2 in the middle were 50 caliber machine guns, both Brownings, and then on the back end they had a 40 millimeter, and that they put on I think they put that on after when they came back to the States from the Aleutians. They put all those extra guns on there because, we used them all. I used to fire the 40 millimeter over the top of my head. Right over like this. First time we did, I sat right down. I was upset a little bit with those guys.
I imagine you were.
The pointer and the trainer, the guys that turned the gun or elevated it up and down. Those two guys, I never saw them. If they were nervous and excited, they didn't show it but they never bothered them a bit because we didn't have any fire control. It was wherever you could see, you know. And so they did that. There was 5 men in that gun crew. And it was noisy. I'll tell you, terrible, extremely noisy. That's why I don't hear any better than I do now. Then I didn't add to it all the time. I was working my life too. I was in noisy places all the time. And we used to go. We went up to the Air Base. Air Force had a B-24 bombers used to fly out of Mindoro to Japan and back, bombing Japan, and we had to do patrol duty out there for a while because they had a fellow that was, I don't know what happened to him, but he would fix one of those 24 bombers. So when the wheels came up, it would blow it up in midair. Well, not from enemy, from him, from us. And so we used to be out there and we'd pick up survivors. And I don't think we never got to do that. I don't know why, but we just missed it somehow. But we got acquainted with a few guys up there. And I don't even know I can't remember their names.